Hey everybody, I'm Natalie and thanks for clicking on this video. Today I'm going to be explaining to you 5 steps in booking an all-inclusive vacation. So, step 1 is to make sure you have a budget. A budget is really important because it's going to really help the process of choosing what you want and where you want to go. If you don't have a budget and you are going online looking at different vacation packages, you're gonna get very overwhelmed with all of the different options and like all the different types of resorts and price ranges and activities and what's included here versus there. So if you can have a price range, it's really going to narrow that down. You can do a lot with a little bit of money when it comes to an all-inclusive vacation. So I know that they always say you get what you pay for, but the thing with all-inclusives is that they're constantly changing prices. You can go somewhere on an off season and pay a lot less to still get such a good quality resort and experience, or you can pay a lot less for maybe a little bit less of what other places offer. For example, maybe you're going to book an all-inclusive where the alcohol isn't included because maybe alcohol isn't your thing and you're okay with that, like that works for you. So that's something to keep in mind. A budget should not be too restrictive because you can always accommodate to be able to get what you want with a certain amount. You have $1,000, say, and you want to book an all-inclusive to the Dominican, but the resort that you want is $1,700 for a week. You just need to look at it and keep an eye on the website, keep in talk with your travel agent to kind of see, when do prices fluctuate, when is the off season, when is the rainy season, because if you go on one of those times, maybe you'll get a deal and you'll still be able to go to where you want to go. So that's super important to make a budget. Give yourself a little bit of leeway. If your budget, you want to spend $1,000, maybe add on $300 and say, okay, I'm going to try to find something for $1,000, but if worse comes to worse, I will add that $300 on, and that's kind of like my blanket. But it's important to make sure you don't go over your budget. Okay, so step 2 is where to go. So when deciding where to go, it's really a personal preference. You need to look at your options, what you are going there to do. If you're going to go somewhere to relax, if you want to go somewhere you can sightsee, you're really into history, you want to go somewhere where you can party. It's really important to look all of these things up and do your research before you decide where you want to go. So for an example, do you want to go to Jamaica? Do you want to go to Cuba? Do you want to go to the Dominican? If you're going to Cuba, maybe you're more of a history buff and you want to go sightsee. If you're Dominican, maybe you want to go party, things like that. So that's really important to decide when you're looking at the places you want to go. All of them are really great. It's just important for you to kind of look at their differences and weigh your pros and cons to decide on what's the best suited for you. The last all-inclusive that I went on was to the Dominican, and I was really comparing that with what I wanted in Cuba. After weighing some pros and cons, I did go to the Dominican. I just felt like their beaches were kind of more what I was looking for. Reviews on their food were more my style, things like that. Not to say that anything was wrong with Cuba, it's just like when I worked it out, Dominican was the best place for me. So that's really what you guys need to do. You need to make a list. On one side, write all the pros of going to this place. Left side, cons of this step 3, which is when to go. I mentioned this a little bit when I was speaking about the budget, but you want to make sure that you do your research when planning when to travel. So that means, when is the rainy seasons in these places? Do you want to go somewhere in a rainy season and risk, being stuck inside maybe for a day? When is hurricane season? When is it really hot to the point where maybe you might not be able to handle? These are things that you need to look into before you book your all-inclusive, okay? You don't want to get down there and it not be what you expect, but if you can make sure that you research all this beforehand, you will get down there and you will be pleased and you will know what to expect. The other thing that I would say with regards to when to go would be when should your flights leave. So a lot of all-inclusives, the cheaper they are, it's because of their flight times. So I know that some flights you might be flying for a full 24 hours before you get there. And it's really important to look at this because you're actually losing a day of your vacation in travel. If this is something you're okay with, go for it because it is a good way to save money. But if not, and you would rather have, you know, that full day on the beach or on the resort, I would really consider just paying the extra couple $100 and, you know, getting that extra day there, because travel can be really exhausting. If you're traveling for a full day, you know, the next day you get there, you might not even really want to get up on the go so early. So it's really important to consider all those factors when you are booking your trip. Fourth step, and I think this is the most important step, is where to stay. I know I've mentioned do your research, but I am not joking this time. Do your research on where to stay. You need to look at the reviews. You need to, you know, ask advice. Maybe ask your friends, like, where did they stay when they went? Were they happy with this place? Were they not? I would really check, you know, the ratings. Is it a 4-star? Is it a 5-star? Because all of this is going to come into factor with your decision, and it's also going to influence your experience when you're down there. I live in Canada, so a 4-star hotel here is pretty good. Like, you know, you're going to get good service. It's not the best of the best, but it's pretty great. You can't complain. I'd even stay at a 3.5-star hotel here. When you're looking to go down south, you're not really wanting to book a 3.5, 4-star. You can, but it's important that you really read the reviews, because their standards for a 4 or a 3.5 star might only be a 2 or 2.5 star for where you live. So yeah, really important to read the reviews. Another thing that I would suggest is try to find photos that past travelers posted themselves. Because a lot of times the pictures on the resort's website can be really old. They might be edited, you know, they took it on the nicest day when everything was just put out and painted and all that stuff. So make sure you try to find some of the people's personal photos, stuff like that. I usually look up the hashtag on Instagram. So if you're going to a Grand Bahia resort, Grand Bahia, blah, 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 search it up and then you can see people's family photos and stuff like that, and it gives you a really good gauge of kind of where to go. It's also really important to decide on where you're staying based on what you expect. If you are going down south and you want to go partying and you want to go to the club and you want to get your drink on every single day, fine by me, but make sure you're going to the right resort. You don't want to go down there and end up on a family resort with little kids running around, and maybe everything closes down early and stuff like that. So it's really important that you search up resorts that focus maybe on parties. They may be adult only, or maybe you are going down there and you just want to relax. You want to hang out by the pool. You want it to be quiet. Maybe you're looking for an adults only resort that's more geared towards that, you know, you can get your massage by the pool. You can have a late breakfast. You can eat breakfast by the pool if you want. That's the stuff that you need to look for. If you can find that, that's the type of resort that you should book. You really want to be careful of this. Me and my girlfriends, we went down south 2 years ago and we really wanted to party, but the resort we got to was more family friendly. There wasn't a lot of kids around, but there was enough that there was no foam parties and like raves or anything like that. So really important to do your research on that based on what you were looking for. Also see what they offer for excursions. I would recommend, if you're going on a trip down south and an all-inclusive, to make sure that you can book these excursions through your resort, because you know that they're safe and you know that they're reliable, and usually the people on the resort will have record that you were gone, and that's really important. So yeah, I would definitely check out all their websites and stuff to see what would be the best option for you. So the fifth and last step to booking your all-inclusive is how to book. You can book one of two ways. First option is to book yourself, and the second would be to book through a travel agent. A lot of people will recommend, if you're booking your first all-inclusive, to go through a travel agent, because they're somebody that you can go to if you have questions, if anything changes, if you get down there and you're traveling and there's an issue, you can contact them and they're kind of your go-to person. The one thing I will say with a travel agent is that there is a fee involved with booking through them. I think that when I used a travel agent once, it was around $60. Not a big amount in the grand scheme of things, but if you are trying to plan an all-inclusive on a budget, you might want to reconsider this option. The other thing with booking through a travel agent is that you don't really get to see all the packages that they're going through. They'll kind of pick some out and present them to you and ask you what you want. But I found when I booked myself, it was easier to go through. I could see, okay, if I change this date, this price drops $300 and stuff like that. So I kind of like that I could play around with it more on my own. But if you are somebody that is maybe unorganized, you're not familiar with traveling, you're maybe a little bit of a nervous traveler, you should definitely consider a travel agent. They are great. This is their job. This is what they do every day, and they'll be sure to give you the best service possible if it is a reputable travel agent. Just a side note, because I don't know if mine was. So the other option would be to book on your own. This is perfectly fine to do as long as you're organized and you can make sure that where you are booking is a reliable source. So you don't want to book on a website that just popped up on the side of your computer screen when you were looking at clothes as an ad, because chances are it might not be a reliable site and you could end up losing your money. So if you wanted to book yourself, you should book directly through the airlines. Here it would be like directly through WestJet or Air Canada. If you're in the States, maybe American Airlines, Delta, something like that. Or you can book through outside booking parties as long as they're reputable. So like one example that I can think of would be Expedia or Booking.com. Book something like that through them, just so that you know it's safe. You know that you are going to get what you're expecting. Your money is going where it's supposed to be. You will get tickets in your hand at the end of it all. That's really important. Something else I would suggest, if you are nervous about traveling, this is your first time, you could anticipate that maybe something might come up, that anything like that, I would suggest travel insurance. There's usually an option with this through a travel agent and through like online purchases. So like if you're buying it through Expedia or WestJet or anything like that, I would recommend buy the travel insurance, because you never want to get in a situation where for some reason you can't go, or your flight was delayed and you missed half your trip or something like that. You always want to be covered. Alrighty, so that is the 5 steps to booking an all-inclusive. I really hope this helped you guys. If it did, please subscribe and like my video below. If you guys have any suggestions for another video, just let me know. But thank you so much for watching.